My entitled mother wants to do nothing all day and night but go out to the bars, spend all her money, and party. I am now having to watch after all of my siblings because my mother can't do it. Well, I'm about here with my breaking point, and I'm going to tell my school teacher that my mom is not fit to watch her kids. My name's Jacob. I'm 15 years old, and my life is a mess. I don't know who to talk to most days. I don't have many friends for reasons that will become clear as I write this, and so I thought I would put my problems on here and see if anyone can relate to my life. I feel as though I'm going crazy and I just don't know what to do. I don't think life should be this hard at my age. I want to be hanging out with my friends and complaining about homework and teachers and talking about girls. But my life is nothing like that and I hate it. My mom and dad are divorced and I miss my father so much. I have a younger brother, Mikey. He's 7. And a younger sister, Faith, who's 6. I'm a lot older than they are, so I can't really talk to them about anything. And my mom and dad split up 5 years ago, so my brother and sister don't even remember dad. But I was 10, and I remember him and miss him so much. We used to do really cool things together, like go fishing, and I would help him when he was working on his motorbike. I also wanted to just be like Dad. He was my hero. Anyways, I was aware that my mom and dad were arguing all the time, and I used to hide in my room when they were. My brother and sister are too young to remember any of that. All they know is the life we have now. Things got really ugly, and my dad said he wanted my mom to leave. The thing is, once the divorce came through, she did leave, but she left in the middle of the night when my father was at work and took us with her. I didn't know what was happening as I was really sleepy, more so than normal, and I have vague memories of getting in the car and just driving. When I woke up, we were in a different city and in a new home. My mom said that this was our home now and we need to adapt. I cried for my dad for a long time, but my mom would get really angry and I learned it was just better to keep quiet about how I felt inside. I didn't realize at the time why my father wanted the divorce, but now I do because my life sucks. That sounds really harsh, I know, but I wanted to tell you about how we got to where we are and, well, before I told you why I'm so unhappy. This might take a while, but please read this as I do need some help. Before we left home, I did notice that my mom would be out of the house and, a lot, would come back and be very different than when she left. I now know that she had been out drinking, because at the time I thought she was just happy. I was such an idiot. Now I know she goes out and spends all night in bars and clubs and gets absolutely wasted every night. We never have any money because she spends all the money that she gets me from my dad on alcohol. Our cupboards and fridge are always half empty, and I have to sneak money from her purse to go and get food for me and my siblings. Before you ask, I've not told anyone outside of here because I know what happens if I do. They'll send in social services and we'll all be split up. Whatever happens, we need to stay together. Every day, I'm responsible for my younger brother and sister. In the morning, I get them up and dressed, make them breakfast and packed lunch, check that they have their homework, and then take them to school before I go to my own school. Their school is not close to mine, so some mornings I'm late for my own classes. So far, the schools have been okay with me, but I'm worried that they'll notice something isn't right. I just use the excuse that my mom has to go to work and so I have to take my brother and sister to school first. I live in fear that they'll realize that this is simply not true, and my mom has actually passed out in her bed due to drinking the night before. Sometimes alone, and sometimes with some man she met. In the last few years, I've had a number of stepfathers that never stick around for long, and I've not liked any of them. It's getting harder and harder to cope with my life. I want to be a normal high school student, hang out with friends, and maybe even date. I have some friends that I hang around with, but I make up so many excuses about why I can't meet up after school or go to things like the cinema and sleepovers. I would never invite anyone home with me. That would be way too risky. And they might tell their parents about my mother. People would try to help, and then it would make my life even worse. I'm exhausted, and I don't know how much longer I'll be able to keep this up. I was hoping that when I finish high school, I would be able to go off to university, but I can't see that happening unless my life changes dramatically. How could I leave my young brother and sister just to deal with my mom? They're getting older as well now, and my brother especially is starting to ask why his mom's always in bed and doesn't come to his parents' evenings, or to watch him when he plays football. I always go and use the same old excuse that my mom works long hours. I think the teachers at his school are starting to think something's going on, and I worry that my brother or sister will let it out, that mom is always in bed, not at work. I need help, and I don't know where to get it. If anyone reads this, please, could you give me some ideas of advice on what I should do? How can I get extra help without being separated from my brother and sister? No matter what else is going on in my life, I love my brother and sister, and it's not an option that we be split up. Could I get help from my mom without her realizing, as she'll be angry if she thinks I'm telling people about her? How could I find my dad? These are all the things I'm trying to work out, and I don't feel old enough to deal with this. I have no one I trust to talk to. I'm living in fear of people finding out that I'm acting as a parent, and I am not even 16 years old. I want to do the best of my siblings, but I'm struggling. Update number 1. Wow, I'm honestly totally just blown away by the support you've given me. It's reassuring to know that I am not the only one who has to deal with some of the things that I'm going through. I really can't go to anyone for help, as I'll not risk being separated from my brother and sister. I may all they have, and it'll be traumatic for all of us if we get taken care of separately. Some of you suggested I try to find my father, but I have no idea where he is. It's been a long time since we left, and I don't even have a contact for him. I did consider looking online to see if I could find him, but when I did have a little look, I couldn't find anything for him. My dad was never big on social media. I have to be careful not to let my mother know what I'm doing also. She has a quick temper when she's drinking, and she'll take it out on my brother and sister. She used to take it out on me, but I'm older now and I'm taller than she is, so she focuses on easy targets. I have to protect Faith and Mikey from anything bad. I would rather it was just me that dealt with the bad stuff. I also will not let people know who we really are or let people have my details. That's not safe for us, and no matter whether it's meant in a good way, I'm not stupid, and I'm aware that online people are not always to be trusted. Also, I'm not lying about all this, as some people commented. This is my life, and I'm happy that you have a good life, and can't believe a 15-year-old boy's dealing with the things that I'm dealing with. Anyways, I wanted to say thank you to all of you who did give me some positive feedback and ideas. I'm not sure what I can do really, but it feels good to know that there's people out there who understand. I feel so alone so much of the time, and just hearing from those of you who get it has made me feel so less lonely. Thank you. Update 2. So, I wasn't expecting to ever write anything on here again. I started the whole thing as a way to get everything out of me before I simply exploded. But because I read all the replies, sorry I didn't answer you, I realized that writing here was almost like therapy, in a way. I'm anonymous and can talk freely without having to worry someone will find out who I am. Someone pointed out that I had put names on here, but I never said they were our real names. Anyways, it's been a few months since I wrote my first post, and life has not really changed. I've not been able to think of a way to get out of this without getting people involved that I don't want to be involved, so I just carry on. One person did comment that when I was older, I would have more power over what happened, but that's a long time away yet. Things have changed though, but not in a positive way. At least not in the positive way I want. My mom has been carrying on as always, partying all night, drinking too much. However, she always just went to the bars and it did not affect us at home until she fell back into the house in the morning. She has, however, met a guy who is awful. He's younger than she is, and he's basically started using our house as a crash pad for his friends. We never know who's going to be at the house, and I'm exhausted from a lack of sleep, and my siblings are struggling. I've got them sleeping in my room with me, and I put a lock on my door. I don't trust the people that my mom's hanging out with. I've tried to carry on as always, but it's getting harder and harder. The food I buy has been disappearing, and I've been struggling to get enough food together for our lunches. We're hungry, and I'm tired. I love school and enjoy learning, but I can barely focus, and it's being noticed. Today, after my lesson before lunch, my teacher, Miss Harris, was waiting next door and said that she needed me to stay behind just for a few moments. I was worried, as I never got in trouble. No matter how bad things are at home, I make sure I turn in all my work on time so that no one has to pay attention to me. I was worried, but Miss Harris, she's a great teacher, so I tried not to look bothered. She sat me down and said that she noticed I was much more tired than normal, and she said that, well, she's noticed the work I was submitting was not up to the standard I would normally submit. She knew that I loved her class and she wanted to check and make sure I was okay. She teaches English literature and is my favorite subject. I love to read and I find it an escape from reality. I wasn't sure what to say, as in my mind I was scared that as a teacher she would have to report us to social services if she thought I was doing everything at home and my mom was sleeping all day and partying all night. So I lied. I told her that I had just been sleeping recently and I wasn't sure why. I said that I would make sure that I tried to get to bed earlier and get more sleep, and I would make sure I paid more attention to my assignments in the future. I'm not sure that she was convinced, but I can't risk being found out. I left that school knowing I would have to be more careful and make sure that I did not let my schooling slip, or Miss Harris would get even more suspicious. Maybe I need to start drinking some coffee? Update number 3. I've decided that I have no choice but to talk to someone as things have gotten a lot worse, and I think that I'm out of my depth now. So basically, my mom met a guy on one of her nights out, as I mentioned in my last update, and what usually happens is she gets bored of them after a while and they leave until the next time she feels lonely. But this one was different. He wasn't leaving. I refuse to even give him a name on here, as to me is more of a monster than a man. Let's just call him the monster. I've already told you that my brother and sister now sleep with me, and with a lock on my bedroom door, and in the evening everything is quiet as my mom and her friends have already hit the bars. For those few hours in the evening, we can chill, watch some TV, and then I do my homework before we lock ourselves away for the night. It's like being in prison. So last night, I was really tired, and I had to take tests all week at school. And it's been a lot of pressure on Faith as she has been sick. She has a bad cold, so she's not feeling great. I had to take a day off school with her today as she has a temperature and it's not very good. I kept Mikey off as well, as I could not leave Faith at home while I took Mikey to school. And I was not leaving her here on her own with my mom and the monster asleep in the room. So, I got up and left the younger ones asleep. Faith needs to sleep and Mikey doesn't sleep well anymore. We're on the edge all the time. Last night, Faith was really ill, and so I didn't get my normal chores done before bed. My normal routine would be to get the kids to take a bath, give them some supper, read them a story, settle them down on the mattress on my bedroom floor. I would then tidy all the pots and pans, put them away, and go settle down to read or do homework in my room. With my door locked, of course, as I never knew when my mom would get home. Last night, I did not wash up all the support pots or take out the trash, so this morning I was making myself a cup of coffee. I started drinking strong coffee to keep me awake, and my mom appeared at the kitchen door. She looked rough and was still drunk. Her makeup was all over her face, and she still had the dress on she had gone out in. She's a disgrace as a mother. Anyways, she went mad because there were dishes and cups in the sink, and she said she did not expect to come home to that mess. It was my job to care for the house when she was out and busy. I said that Faith was sick and that I was going to wash up the dishes once I had my coffee. And, of course, some toast. I think I should have stopped talking there, but I was angry and tired. Faith had been unsettled all night with a high temperature, and I needed to find a way to get her medicine. I looked my mom in the face and said these exact words to her. I didn't do them because I was looking after your daughter, who's really ill, but would not know that, would you, because you were out drinking like you always are. That monster. I have no money to get her medicine because you drink it all away. I was just so angry and fed up, and my mom's face went red, and that's when she slapped me. A full hand slap right across the face knocked me off balance, and I spilt my coffee everywhere. It was hot, and I have a small burn on my hand. She glared at me and spat, "Clean that up," before storming back to the bedroom. I looked at the mess, and taking a deep breath, I cleaned it up as I didn't want it to get worse. I went back to the bedroom and locked us in for the first time. I began to see just how out of depth I really am. I'm a 15-year-old boy trying to basically raise 2 children, and now one was poorly, and I didn't know what to do. I looked at my siblings and made a decision. I called the school and asked if Miss Harris could phone me. I made the excuse that I was off ill and needed advice about an assignment that was due, and I didn't want to miss the deadline. I hoped Miss Harris would see this as a cry for help that it was. I'll update you if I hear back. Update 4. Miss Harris called me back and I told her the general problem over the phone, about Faith being ill and that I didn't know what to do for the medicine. Miss Harris asked why my mom was not getting it, and I kinda lost it and started to cry. She said she would come around, and I said no, that's a horrible idea. She must not come to the house when my mom was here. I think she realized this was more serious than she thought and calmed me down. She said she did not think bringing Faith out was a good idea and would be there in time when she could come and see me. I said that my mom goes out every night, so that would be okay. Miss Harris has given me her cell phone number, which I know could get her in trouble, but I would never let anyone know. Before you say I'm putting her job on the line, this is not her real name, by the way. I said I would text her when my mom leaves. Now, all I have to do is wait for my mom and the monster to go to the bar. And I'll have hours where we're safe. Update number 5. This is a follow-up to the last one, and I nearly put off posting the last update until after I spoke to Miss Harris. But I posted it as I needed to keep busy. Things have gone crazy, and I'll try to make sense of it, but my head is reeling with the things that I've had happen last night. After my mom left, I sent a text to Miss Harris. As always, my mom did not say that they were leaving. All I heard was voices and the door slamming before the monster truck started. I waited for a while before I sent the text, just in case they came back. Miss Harris arrived not long after, and she brought cold medicine for Faith. She looked shocked that we were all living in my bedroom, and at first I tried to play it off. But Mikey seemed to almost fall in love with Miss Harris. He opened his mouth and told her everything. As he babbled on, Miss Harris looked like she was about to cry. Mikey told Miss Harris my mom had hit me, and he was scared, and I sat silent and worried. Miss Harris asked me why I didn't say anything and told her I knew what happened when kids were taken from their homes. We would be split up, and that was not going to happen. The look on Miss Harris's made me cry. And, well, before long we were all crying. Miss Harris asked me where my father was, and I said I didn't know, as my mom kept moving about so he couldn't find us. She asked if she was hiding him for a reason, but I said no, he was brilliant, father, and I loved him. Faith and Mikey don't remember him, and she asked what his name was, and I told her it was Jed. Then I told her my surname. She asked if I've tried to find him, and I said I didn't know where to start. I'm a bit ashamed that I never thought to do it. Anyways, we talked a lot, and Miss Harris told us to get some clothes and anything we would not leave without, and she was getting us out of there. I said I didn't want her to get in trouble, but she told me not to worry about that. She would deal with that. This led us to where we are at the moment and where I'm writing this. We're at Miss Harris' parents' house. It's a luxury state to me, but I think most people would see it as a normal home. There's no broken doors and every room has carpets. Miss Faith's dad is a policeman and I panicked and wanted to leave. But he told me we were safe and that he would make sure we stayed safe. Faith is tucked up in a warm bed and sleeping, and Mikey's also sleeping on the sofa next to me. Miss Harris's dad has been on the phone since we got her, and her mom is amazing. She makes the best cookies ever. Mikey has eaten his body weight in food. I'm tired, but I'm scared to go to sleep, as no matter what they say, I'm worried that they'll get us put into a child's home, which is not what I want. I should probably sleep now. There's nothing I can do for it now. It's all out of my hands. If we're taking my social services, well, I guess this will be my last update. But if it is, thank you for the support and all the messages you've sent me. It's gotten me through the bad times, and I feel less alone when I read the things you put on my writing. Wish us luck. And again, thank you. Update number 6, final update. Hey guys, it's been months since I've updated, and I realized that probably looks like we're separated and taken into care, but that's not what happened. It's just that I wanted to have a final update and close the story, and although I feared the worst, it's actually a good ending. I finally fell asleep that night at Miss Harris's parents' house. Their names are Jack and Marion, and to make typing easier, when I woke up they were still talking on the phone, but Miss Harris was smiling at me. She told me that they found my father. Jack had used his network as a police officer and found that my father has actually filed a missing person claim on us, which is why Mom kept moving us when anybody got close. My father was coming to us, to get us. I've not seen him in so long and I'm so excited. Mikey and Faith are a bit scared as they don't even know him. But I've told them every good story that I remember about what I did with my father and how awesome he is. I asked what would happen until he got here, and they said that we would be staying with Jack and Marianne, so we are safe. At this point, my mom had not even noticed we were gone, which said a lot, really. There was a lot of stuff that happened, but I will not bore you with those parts. My dad arrived 2 days later, and it was the best day of my life. I threw myself into his arms and just cried. It was like all the awful things that happened was leaving my body. Faith and Mikey were weary, but it did not take long for them to come around to him, as he is the kindest man ever. He told me he had never stopped looking, and he was so sorry that I had lived as I had, and that I would never have to live like that again. We moved into a rented house with my father, which Miss Harris helped us find. My mom finally noticed we were not there, and she was served with papers from Dad taking her to court for full custody of us. He also stopped all payments to her immediately. I didn't realize at the time just how thin I've gotten. We didn't have enough food, and I made sure Faith and Mikey got the most of it. They were both too small for their ages as well. My mom decides to fight the case, believe it or not, and we had to go to court. My dad told me there's no way any judge would look at us and the things my mom did and make us go back to her. Faith and Mikey sat with Miss Harris in the court, and I sat with my father at the front. Although I was scared, I was going to give a testimony about how bad things were. Jack had asked our permission to take photos the night Miss Harris rescued us, and so they were put in as evidence. One was of my face. I had not noticed that I had a black eye, and one of my mom's rings had cut under my eye when she slapped me. The court case went how we expected. The judge looked at all the paperwork and the photos and listened to my father, as he told them that my mom had run off with us, and he provided the missing persons claim that he made. When it was my turn, I sat, and although I was absolutely terrified, I told that judge everything. How I had to raise my siblings, how we slept behind a locked door, how we had no food or medicine, and how my mom brought men over into the house, strange ones, weirdos. I could see my mom getting angry, but I didn't care anymore. The judge went to think about the decision, and when we were called back in, he awarded full custody to my father. He also put a fine against my mother for all the child support she received and spent on her lifestyle rather than us. He did a really long talk about how she was a disgrace as a parent, and she should be acting her age like a mother, not some college girl just out to have a good time. He said that he was a supporter of children having contact with both their parents, but in this case, he didn't see how contact with the mother was in any way beneficial. So, unless she committed to rehab for her alcohol addiction, went to therapy, and stopped with her nonsense lifestyle, he would be putting a no-contact order in place. And with those words, I breathed a huge sigh of relief, and I looked back to smile at Faith and Mikey. That's when my mother lost it. She went absolutely mental. She had a lawyer with her who was a state-provided one, and he was whispering to her and telling her to calm down. But she had been drinking, and there's no stopping her. In the break where the judge was making his decision, Jack told me later that my mom had gone to the bar across the street with the monster. My mom slapped her lawyer, tried to climb over the desk to get to the judge, and screamed abuse at my father and me. She was still screaming that she did not want me anyways, when the court officers grabbed her and put her in handcuffs and dragged her out of the court. Yep, she was arrested. And moments later, so was the monster, who tried to get to my mom. He was so drunk out of his mind, he fell over the gate into where we were sitting. If there had been any doubt that they should be around kids, it's gone now. We left the court as a new family, and that was 6 weeks ago. My dad has bought a house here, and he works as a freelancer, so he can work from anywhere in the country. And he didn't want me to have to move schools. Also, he said there was a good fishing spot here, so he was happy. Mikey and Faith have started to love fishing. Miss Harris visits us a lot. I think she's dating my father, but it's not official yet. She helped me get a part-time job at the local library so I can study and be surrounded by books. Faith and Mikey, well, they're loving school, again, and are doing a lot of after-school activities. And now my mom and Monster. Oh yeah. They spent the night in jail and went in front of the judge the following morning. My mom was charged with being drunk and disorderly, and they threw in child endangerment as well. She was found guilty, and she's been given a prison sentence and will have to do rehab before she's even released. We were awarded a restraining order, so when she is released, her bail will be that she can't come anywhere near us or she's going directly to jail. Life's good. It's like a dark cloud has been blown away and the sun is finally shining again. Well, I'll just say at the end, if it was not for the mother showing exactly how crazy she really was by trying to attack the father and OP, well, that might have been a good thing she did that, because it resulted in the judge changing her sentence to mandatory rehab, which might do her some good, considering she was a very toxic mother. She didn't deserve those kids. She was torturing them. And the only reason they were able to survive was because of the oldest. Feared of losing all his siblings. Guys, let me know your thoughts about this story. Post it down below. Do you know anyone that's ever been in a similar situation? Growing up? Or maybe they're just like OP's mother? Drop your thoughts below, guys. That's all the content for today. If you're new to the channel, go ahead and subscribe. I have daily videos of some of the wildest stories you've ever heard. Alright guys, have an amazing day, and remember, it's cool to be kind. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace!